I needed one app that could show me my accounts and my tickets. So I built it in Claude Code, pulling from the CRM and the ticketing system, and with one command, deployed, governed, and secured. Now it's live running in Helix. 1 in 20 AI-built apps like this one ever make it to production. Most just die on someone's laptop. Not because people can't build them, it's because the moment your app touches real systems, you're on your own for API keys and access tokens. 82% of security teams have found AI apps running in their environment they didn't even know about. And Helix is how you keep the speed of building like this without that exposure. Deployed means one command to production. Governed means IT can see every app, who owns it, and what it touches. Secured means credentials are managed, nothing hard-coded at any point. And that's Helix, an SDK, CLI, and platform for running these apps, wrapped in governance and security. Let's take a look at how this actually works. Let's go ahead and build out a new application from scratch. So I've installed the Helix CLI here, and I can go ahead and use Helix init to initialize a new Helix application. I'm going to call mine Salesforce Dashboard. That's going to create all of the scaffolding that I need, the config, sample functions, and all the stuff to guide my AI coding assistant about building out the project. I'm going to go ahead and pop into that project itself, and then we're going to go ahead and initialize that so we're ready to start building. Once that's done, I can go ahead and start building as I normally would. So I'm going to bring up Claude, and I'm going to go ahead and give it the prompt that I want it to build out for us. So in this case, the same application that we saw just a moment ago. So Salesforce account with dashboards, go ahead and grab the tickets and create me a nice view for that. And we'll go ahead and let Claude do its thing that it's fantastic at and actually build this out as our start of our application directly. Now, of course, one of the big things with Helix here is you want to make this as frictionless as possible for how you normally build out your applications, in which case, in this case, I'm pointing Claude and giving it what I want it to build. And Helix is an opinionated SDK. The stuff under the hood here is helping guide Claude on the best way to build that within the Helix governance layer that we've got. But in this case, it's going to go ahead and build it out for us nicely. Now, once my application is finished being built, Helix does also come bundled with a dev service. What I can go ahead and do is use Helix Dev, and that's going to bring up my application to run locally for me so I can make sure that it all runs and operates as I expect before I go ahead and deploy it. In this case, we can see it's running on our local host here, which is fantastic. So I can make sure that this all looks good before I'm happy with that. But that looks fantastic. Let's go ahead and ship it. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this, and I'm going to make use of now the Helix deploy commands. This is as simple as it is to be able to take my application from what we've just built with Claude and actually deploy this into Helix. Now, all I do is do Helix deploy. It's going to take all of that information from my section and go ahead and give me the project URL that I can now look at from a Helix point of view to see exactly what is happening. Before we jump over and look at this from an admin point of view, one of the big things to highlight here within the actual application code itself is this little key piece here. Now, this app that we built is interacting with Salesforce and Zendesk. Now, what we don't have here is my app just using hard-coded credentials. It's pointing at auth aliases here with this ctx.http auth, which is pointing at that Salesforce alias. So Claude, my application here, has no hard-coded credentials in there. It's pointing at that alias, and then Helix's credential broker will sit in the middle and actually populate that with the live credentials when it's being run and deployed into our Helix environment. This is the beauty of that governance layer in place, and what you're starting to see. I'm not having to rely on sort of the application managing those credentials itself. It's all managed through the Helix platform there. Now that I've deployed that application with that very simple single command, I now have my application deployed into Helix. There was nothing I needed to worry about from an infrastructure or a runtime point of view. That's all handled as part of that deployment process and eliminates a lot of that headache. And as you can see, I've got my Salesforce Zendesk application here, which is the one that we just deployed. And when I come through and I have that within the Helix platform, I get this really nice central view of how well all of my applications are doing. So are they healthy? What were the latest deployments? You can see the one from just a moment ago. And most importantly, I can now access that app, which is now running on Helix. So it was really easy to take it from my laptop and get that into something that is now running in the Helix platform with this governance layer wrapped around that. Now, there is a few things you'll notice here as well. So depending on the applications that you're building, there are native pieces of functionality within Helix you can use as well. So things like files with our file system. If you need a database for your application, it eliminates the need for you to provision that. It will just be something that you can make use of, and similar sort of thing with queues. Now, most importantly as well, when we look at the access control, it's really important to highlight here that while this is running in Helix, there is a case here where you need to think about, okay, well, who will be able to access this application? I'm a user, I have access, I can see that. However, as I take this URL and switch over to something that won't have access because I'm not logged into the Helix platform, I simply won't be able to access this application, and I'll need to log into the Helix app itself. And that's where within this access management tab, I can control exactly who will have access to this application. So while I can easily deploy it, I can also make sure that when I share it out for other people across my business and the different teams, I know exactly who's going to have access themselves. I can also see under the deployments, those deployments we saw just a moment ago. What's really powerful is under this logging section, I can see exactly all of the logs and all of the calls that my applications are making. So I'm not just thinking or looking at them from a black box point of view thinking, okay, well, what on earth is this application doing? I can drill into every single API call that my applications are making. I can see exactly which, set of data we did, what did we query from an endpoint URL, what was the auth that we used for that. I get this really extensive, rich set of visibility into what these applications are doing. So they're not just running somewhere and I have no idea what systems are they interacting with. Are they writing data, reading data? Are they just, overwriting all the stuff within my system? I've got this really nice central governance place that I can come into and see all of this within my application itself. I can also add on custom logs if I wanted to as well, so I can clearly see exactly what is happening there from a logging point of view across all parts of my application directly. Now, what we can also do is take this a layer up as well. So from an admin point of view, an admin from your organization will have a layer above your own applications where they can see all of the applications deployed across your Helix environment. So that is exactly what this view is here. So I can see the application that I just deployed. I can see some of the applications from my wider team. And so I've got this really nice central governance piece that I can come to and see exactly and have views into all of the applications that are being deployed. I can see which authentications are they perhaps using. Are they, being used in different ways? What systems are they interacting with? What scopes might they be using? So I just have this one central stop that I can come to and see all of this. So whether it's at the app level, whether it's at the admin level, Helix gives you this wonderful governance runtime that you can use on top of that as well. Most AI apps die on a laptop. This one didn't. That's the app I showed you at the start. Same one, still running on Helix. I got to build it my way, and IT never had to wonder what on earth is my app doing. And that's the trade that Helix is built for. You keep building at the speed that you want, and it ships governed from the first request. If your team's already vibe coding apps like this in Claude Code, Cursor, or whatever you're already using, Helix is how you take them to production without losing control.